People call me a walking economy. You know why? My hairline is in recession, my stomach's a victim of inflation, and together that puts me in a Great Depression. Now, talking of the economy, I think most of you know that the world's two largest economies are China and the United States. So after controlling for prices, for example, how a haircut is less costly in Shanghai than in San Francisco, China makes up for about 19-20% of the world's economy. The United States comes second at 15%. But have you ever wondered what is Malaysia's share? It is 0.7%. That's less than 1%. That's less than the margin of error in World Bank economic forecasts. But here's the thing though. Malaysia is small in size, but not in story. So today, I share this story with you in the form of 5 things Malaysians should know about their economy, but don't. So even though Malaysia's a sliver of the global economy, it has lifted over 14 million people out of poverty. This is not a mere statistic. It's 14 million lives transformed. It's a national miracle. 10 years after independence, almost 50%, half of all Malaysians were poor. Today, it's just 5%. When Malaysia and Singapore split, that inherited the larger, poorer, rural population, yet it managed to lift millions out of poverty, and that too without creating permanent slums. And every single Malaysian should be proud of this fact. Plus, let's be honest, Malaysia also got the better nasi lemak. And the even better news is that most of this progress has come from the Bumiputras, once the most disadvantaged. Poverty today is less about ethnicity and race and more about class. The challenge now is to reduce disparities, is to close the gap within ethnic groups and not across them. So that was number 1, and here comes number 2. Now, I guess you know that Malaysia is not a high-income country yet. But how many of you know how long Malaysia has been stuck in the middle-income trap? It's almost 4 decades. That's a long time. So South Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, they escaped the middle-income trap a long time back and became high-income. Malaysia hasn't. Oh, by the way, even though Malaysia does not have high per capita income, you know what it does have? High per capita opinion. Everyone has an opinion about something or the other. That's what I found out. Now, the good news is that Malaysia can become high income in the next 5, 6, 7 years. And I hope when it does, Michelle Yeoh flies in and cuts a ribbon or something. But the bad news is that even when it does, 6 out of 10 Malaysians would still remain below the high income threshold. And this tells you how deep disparities run. So for example, people in KL are richer than people in Portugal, a high-income country. But people in Kelantan, they're as poor as those in Sri Lanka, and 7 times poorer than their fellow citizens in KL. Now, this is the map of Malaysia as we know it and love it. In the next slide, you will see the map of Malaysia resized by how rich people are in each state. You see, the disparities blow up, literally. So the point is, you cannot become high income on the backs of just a few. Otherwise, you run into the problem of your citizens saying, how come my country is rich, but I'm poor? So that is fact number 2, and here comes number So far I've told you two things. How Malaysia has lifted the floor on poverty. It is stuck in a middle income trap, now struggling to raise the ceiling further. So how do we square these facts? So to answer this, and this is number 3, let's ask ourselves the question, what powers the Malaysian economy? Well, we know what powers Malaysians, teh tarik, but what about the economy? Historically, it used to be commodities like tin, rubber, now oil, gas, but their contribution is shrinking. What truly powers Malaysia's economy today is semiconductors. In fact, Malaysia is among the top 10 semiconductor exporters in the world. Semiconductors are Malaysia's golden goose. But you know what? This goose is getting a bit tired, is getting a bit old. It could have been a badminton champion, but is perfectly content playing pickleball on weekends. And you know why? Because this goose did not innovate. As the world races towards AI and advanced chips, Malaysia risks remaining stuck, assembling them, and not developing or inventing them where the money is. Get this. Only 18%, only 18% of Malaysia's semiconductor patents go to Malaysian residents. China, 40% of their patents go to their residents. Taiwan, 60%. Now, it's not that Malaysians are not innovative. I'll prove it to you. You all know what this is. You can't see it, but let me explain it to you. It's something that all of you have. It's your trustworthy touch and go card. And you know the scene. You're at a toll booth, window down, arms stretching like a yoga master, trying your touch and go card to somehow make contact with that magic sensor that somehow manages to stay out of reach. We've all been there, right? No worries. Along comes a Malaysian genius and fixes this problem. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you, voila, the magic touch and go wand. Now I'm waiting for some Malaysian genius to fix RFID, which, as somebody said in Malaysia, RFID stands for reverse, forward, inshallah, detect. So it's not that Malaysians are not innovative. It's the fact that the innovation ecosystem is lacking. Low levels of long-term financing for innovation, low tolerance for failure, low levels of spending on research and development, R&D. In fact, Malaysia spends less than 1% of its GDP on R&D, research and development. Singapore, twice that. Korea, 4 times more. So Malaysia's middle income trap is essentially an innovation trap. Okay, 3 down, 2 more to go. Here comes number 4. Malaysia has an enviably low rate of unemployment of 3%. But there's a catch. Even though most Malaysians have jobs, almost 4 in 10 Malaysians work below the skill level. In other words, they are underemployed. You know, I often think of Izwan, my Grab driver once, who used to work for Petronas. I think of my son's math tutor, juggling multiple gigs. I think of the millions of Malaysians, underemployed Malaysians, struggling to make ends meet. In fact, about half of Malaysian workers earn less than 3,000 ringgit, or $700 a month, not even enough to pay taxes. And brain drain data captures this. In 1990, only 350,000 Malaysians lived and worked in Singapore. Today, it's 1.5 million, not counting day trippers. That's almost a quarter of Singapore's population. And many have become Singaporeans. So this goes to show that Malaysians don't lack drive, just opportunity. And this brings me to this point. Actually, you know what? Let me ask all of you this question. What do you think is Malaysia's most important, most valuable, renewable resource? No, it's not timber, it's not solar, it's not hydro. It is its youth. Young Malaysians are hungry to innovate, to contribute, to do good. Yet, they're also 3 times less likely to land a job. Why? One reason is they're held back at an early age. The World Bank calculated that 4 out of 10 Malaysian kids at the age of 10 cannot fully comprehend or read an age-appropriate text. Malaysian students spend 12 and a half years in school, yet they learn the equivalent of less than 9. That's more than 3.5 years of schooling, of education down the drain. So no wonder when they enter the workforce, they're already playing catch up. So fixing this is important, but fixing this without creating more or better jobs means that you're training talent for even more export. So the $420 billion question, and now you know Malaysia's GDP, look at you getting smarter, is why are there no better jobs? Well, one reason is a dominant state that smothers private enterprise. Another is red tape that stifles innovation, that stifles initiative. Case in point, one ministry regulates childcare. Another ministry regulates preschooling. Now, if you're a private business who wants to provide joint childcare and preschool services, because that's what young parents are demanding, you have to go to the first ministry to get a license, into the second ministry to get a second license. You have to open 2 separate premises, each with their own entrance. The result? You guessed it, most private providers or many private providers bypass these restrictive rules and operate in the shadows. So it's important to get this private sector mojo back. It's important to tackle learning poverty at its roots, because no number of freebies, AI, or training later on will help, because you cannot build a high-income nation on the base of low skills and an anemic private sector. Here's number 5. Malaysia's purse is getting lighter. Did you know that 80% of all personal income taxes are paid by just 7 to 8% of workers? Malaysia's revenue from taxes as a share of GDP is less than 13%, way below what it itself used to collect 12 years back, and way below its high-income aspirants. So this lighter purse, is depriving ordinary Malaysians of quality healthcare, education, infrastructure. Even paying just the interest on national debt is getting tougher and tougher. Sure, cutting subsidies and reducing corruption helps, because every ringgit saved is a ringgit earned, but it will not be enough. Malaysia must solidify its revenue base, because you cannot build a high-income nation on a low-resource foundation. So these were my 5 things. The question is, what can you do? Well, you can do a lot. but start by being better informed. And I hope my talk today is helping. Now, talking of information, I lived in Russia for 5 years before moving to Moscow. And I was surprised that in a country like Malaysia, in a democracy like Malaysia, there is no Freedom of Information Act. Well, one is soon on its way, as I'm sure you Malaysians know, the Freedom of Information Act is soon on its way, and it can really shift the current secrecy by default culture in Malaysia to an openness by default, a real game changer. But beware, because governments are known to dodge even the best freedom of information laws. How? By stonewalling requests, by charging for information, by playing that good old national security guard. Now, most people think that the currency that governments issue is money. Ringgit, dollars, pounds, rupiah. Wrong. The real currency that governments issue is trust. And nothing devalues the currency of trust faster than withholding information or misinformation. So, as concerned Malaysians, we can ensure that Malaysia passes and implements the best freedom of information law in the world. In 2017, in Moscow, during the entire month of December, we received a grand total of 6 minutes of sunshine. 6 minutes of sunshine spread over 31 days. That's less than 12 seconds of sunshine a day. Heck, that's even less than the light you get scrolling TikTok in the morning. But here's the thing. When I open my curtains every day in KL, I'm pretty much guaranteed that warm, beautiful, golden sunshine. So even though Malaysia's share of the global economy is small, its share of hope, ambition, and sunshine is huge. Don't take that for granted. Thank you.